The Supreme Court the way it has been since 1869 with 9 justices. Tennessee Congressman Mark Green says he will file a constitutional amendment tomorrow. Florida Senator Marco Rubio saying he will do the same in the Senate. This after several 2020 Democratic candidates say they support expanding the highest court in the land. Let's bring in our headliner, Alan Dershowitz, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus and author of the book, The Case Against the Democratic House Impeaching Trump. Professor Dershowitz, we appreciate you coming on America's Newsroom this morning. I'm sure you've got something to say as this proposal on the part of Democrats seems to be growing.
Well, it's a terrible idea, and it just increases the politicization of our highest court. The highest court is supposed to be a neutral, objective, nonpartisan institution. As the Chief Justice has said, there are no Republican justices or Democratic justices. That's really a wish rather than a reality. Look, this goes back 225 years. When President John Adams was a lame duck president, he appointed bunches of people called midnight judges, and the politicization was great. In the run-up to the Civil War, President Roosevelt tried to pack the court. So both Republicans and Democrats have always tried to use the Supreme Court to their advantage, and we, the American people, shouldn't let them do it. We should insist that the Supreme Court remain and be a neutral, unbiased institution. Both parties are at fault. The Republicans were at fault for not letting Merrick Garland's nomination come to the floor. The Democrats are at fault for the way they treated President Trump's nominees to the Supreme Court. We, the American people, have to demand that both parties leave politics out of the Supreme Court. So I think it would probably be a good thing to have only 9 justices, perhaps maybe even with term limits. If you're going to amend the Constitution, you know, the framers didn't intend for justices to sit on the Supreme Court for 40 or 50 years. Life expectancy back in the day was in the 40s and 50s, and people were appointed when they were 40. So most justices served for 8 or 10 years. Now they're serving for lifetimes. And so the problems have gotten worse and worse, and the American people have to insist that take your political hands off our Supreme Court.
So you'd be in favor of some kind of term limits for Supreme Court justices?
I would, but, you know, tampering with the Supreme Court in any way politically raises the risk that if you do this, then other people will do this. There are some who say there should be 5 Republican justices, 5 Democratic justices, and then 5 independent justices picked by the 10 partisan justices. Every idea seems worse than previous ideas and worse than the status quo. We may in the end have to just struggle to maintain the current law because fixing it may produce more problems than the problems that currently exist.
Got to ask you about this $250 million lawsuit that Devin Nunes is bringing on Twitter. Here he is on the story last night on that.
Twitter's a big company. They have an army of lawyers. This could take a very long time. And I should say that this is only the first of many. We started with Twitter because they are a perpetrator of this. Of the fake news, but we are also going after numerous other media organizations in the coming weeks.
Does he have a strong case?
No, he has no case at all, and it's wrong from a political and ideological point of view. If you don't like what Twitter is doing, create an alternate company. If you don't like what Facebook, you don't like what any of the others are doing, the American way is competition. Look, a lot of people thought that the Democrats control the media, and along came Fox. Now you have 2 sides presented. You can watch Fox, you can watch other programs. That's the answer.
But what about
the
defamatory language?
Competing media.
What about defamatory language? Does he have a case there?
No, because the law in the United States is you can't defame a group, you can't defame conservatives, you can only defame individuals. And if you're a public figure, in order to be defamed, you have to prove a reckless disregard for the truth. It's going to be very, very hard to do. They would be much better off using the money they're going to spend on lawyers to try to build alternative media companies which can compete in the marketplace of ideas. That's the American way.
He seems to be getting some support from a guy who has the bully pulpit in a very big way, President Trump. Listen to what the president had to say.
I will tell you there is collusion with respect to that because something has to be going on. And when you get the back office statements made by executives of the various companies, and you see the level of in many cases, hatred they have for a certain group of people that happen to be in power, that happen to have won the election. You say that's really unfair. It's very fair. It's collusive, and it's very, very fair to say that we have to do something about it.
What do you think of what the president had to say?
Well, the president may, the president may well be right. He may be wrong about the merits of this. But the answer is not to go to the law courts and try to get them to control what private media companies are doing and saying. The answer is competition. Go invent a new Twitter that's better, a better mousetrap, a better Facebook, and then compete and let the public see your perspective and their perspective. Look, people who control the media on the right also use it for their partisan political purposes. The answer is not censorship. The answer is not stopping them from doing it. The answer is open competition in the marketplace of ideas. Again, that's the American way. That's the First
They're going to make
Amendment
that
way.
case. Professor, I got to ask you now about this former Obama White House counsel and Clinton-linked attorney Greg Craig. He could soon be charged by the DOJ for illegal, unregistered overseas lobbying. And if that happens, it would make him the first Democrat to face prosecution in the Russia investigation. And just wanted to get your thoughts on that before we let you go.
Look, two wrongs don't make a right. I don't think there should have been prosecutions of Republicans. I don't think there should be prosecutions of Democrats unless they clearly violate the law with the intent to violate the law. The registration rules regarding lobbying are murky. And I don't think that criminal cases should be brought based on them, just like I didn't think criminal cases should be brought against Republicans who violated vague and open-ended laws. I want to see us pull back on the use of the criminal sanction against both Republicans and Democrats. Fight it out in the court of public opinion. Fight it out on television, but don't use the law courts for political and partisan purposes.
Professor Alan Dershowitz, thank you.